Damn it, Star Wars just made me cry again, and I haven't cried in Star Wars for a while, but episode 4 was worth the wait. It was the most epic episode I have seen in a while. Those who watched the episode, we all know what the ending, that cliffhanger, bro, was amazing, was one of the best things I've ever seen. Anakin is finally back. I've made videos upon videos talking about it's not just a flashback, guys. He will be back in real time in this timeline, and as we see in the world between worlds, Ahsoka finally meets Anakin Skywalker in live action. It's not just the animated version anymore, baby. Now we have them both at the same time. Let's just go ahead and start. So we see at the beginning that Huyang is trying to repair the ship. Ahsoka's ship essentially has been rendered useless. It cannot fly and it cannot let out communications. We see Huyang trying to repair it. We kind of see a carefree Sabine and we see a careful Ahsoka. She knows what is coming. This is, I think, the last moment that we see a carefree Sabine. She really realized from this episode on what Ahsoka was letting on about, because Ahsoka is pretty experienced and knows how easily you can be manipulated, and Sabine definitely found out in this episode. Unfortunately, we see that they have been ultimately discovered by one of the droids, and Balon tells Shinhati and Marek to finally move in for the kill, as they're both waiting for the hyperdrive to be initiated. This finally reveals the title, Fallen Jedi, and it was pretty much the Balon episode at this point. This was where Balon really showed his dominance, not only in lightsaber combat, but also in the Force. He is a force to be reckoned with for sure. And again, I have to say this, rest in peace, Ray Stevenson, because this is just a tremendous blow to know that this guy might not come back for season 2. I don't know what they will do with the character. I literally don't, but it's extremely sad, especially after this episode, to know that he won't be back for another season. One thing I will be thankful for after this episode is the Sabine awkwardness and Ahsoka assertiveness. It has grown old now. Episode 4, we should have gotten past this. We see that Sabine is still in her head too much. Ahsoka just approaches her, tells her to relax. Essentially, what I think is this is the last moment where they are as master and apprentice, because Sabine, what she will go through after being imprisoned, and I think willingly imprisoned by Balon and taken to this other galaxy, she will learn a lot, and now we have Ezra to look forward to. As the droids approach, we see a very cool droid fight. I haven't seen a droid fight this cool in a long while, and this is between Huyang and one of the droids. And as much as Huyang held up his own, we see that he is not a combat droid per se, so he tries to hold on, but ultimately lets the gang know inside that something is afoot. Once Ahsoka and Sabine drop down, they take care of the droids, and per the instruction of Huyang, they stick together to go and stop Morgan Elsbeth from completing her goal, which I think they should have done so in the first place faster, but whatever the case, they run to catch up. While they're trying to contact Hera, we see that Hera is still the ultimate rebel. Together with Chopper and her son Jason, she leaves on the ghost ship, and who is with her side by side? As they depart Home 1, we see that Carson Teva is back, and he also reveals that Phoenix Leader is now Hera Syndulla's call sign. Also, this was a full view in live action of the ghost ship from Rebels that we've seen mostly in animated form. Now we see it in live action. It also made an appearance in The Rise of Skywalker, so it's pretty cool to see it all around in full view with a squad of X-Wings beside it. This last pilot was played by Alan Tudyk, who also voiced K2SO in Rogue One. Interestingly, after this scene, Balon warns Morgan Elsbeth again that if her calculations are even the slightest bit off, they will be trapped in the void between galaxies. So now we get more lore about how hyperspace travel actually works, especially when it comes to intergalactic travel, where we don't have any clue about what's going on, especially in canon. But the guidelines are complete. We see Morgan Elsbeth activate the map. She also tells Balon to have a little bit of faith, which Balon does not and has abandoned it a long time ago. So we see he is pretty darkened by the past. He is angry at something or someone. I hope in the coming episodes we get more Balon lore, because I'm really fascinated by this character. I know you guys are too. He really is this deep, rich person with a lot of lore behind him. And I would love to know from you guys, let me know down below in the comments, would you like for Balon, if Ray Stevenson can't play him, would you like him to be dead by season 1? If he survives past this season, would you mind if they replace him with a different actor? With everything set, the Eye of Sion is activated and they are completing their calculations for the jump. We finally get the double duel we saw in the trailers, and as I suspected, I've talked about it even in the video where I theorized, and I'm sorry guys, but it turns out Marek is just Marek. He is nobody in particular. In fact, what is even more interesting is that Marek is not even a real person. Once Ahsoka kills him in this duel, we see that Marek just vanishes in a green insect expulsion, kind of like a green mist, signifying that he is a Morgan Elsbeth Night Sister creation. He is perhaps a Night Brother created in the form of magic by Morgan. Kind of adds to the lore. Now, if you're saying we've never seen this, we kind of have, because in the comics, Darth Vader actually did this with the Grand Inquisitor. He trapped him inside a Jedi temple where the Grand Inquisitor lives in a shadowy form. He is real, but he kind of is not. So I think this is what was done with Marek as well by Morgan Elsbeth. If this is true, it signifies that she is much more powerful than we previously realized. And the way she slashed him even really reminded me of what she did to the other Inquisitor in Tales of the Jedi. So it's become a habit for Ahsoka at this point. The more interesting duel, however, was Sabine against Shin Hati. While Shin is superior, she definitely shows her lack of knowledge in this duel. She is eager, she is inexperienced. She is, however, more powerful than Sabine. As we see, Sabine tries to push her with the Force. She laughingly only pushes her face, it was kind of like a small slap, but with her Mandalorian tricks, she ultimately gets Shin a little bit while Shin distracts her and gets away. Because at this point, Ahsoka has left the chat and went to stop Baylan and Morgan from taking off. Naturally, Shin knows that this is much more important than a measly duel with Sabine. Alright, so we finally get to the main scene, and that is Baylan against Ahsoka. Just by watching this scene in the trailers, this is how I knew that Marek might not have survived that duel that we see also in the trailers. But this duel turned out to be extremely interesting, not only from a lore perspective, but what actually happened in it. It was just a cavalcade of information and a twist upon a twist. It was pretty interesting. I did not expect it to go this convoluted. He of course mentions Anakin Skywalker, and few remained to see what he actually became, meaning Darth Vader. We also learn from Baylan that his motive is pretty clear. He hated what the Jedi Order became, he hated the Republic, but he also hated the Empire, so he has no love for anybody in particular except for, it seems like, Thrawn, because he definitely mentioned that he wants Thrawn to come back for the greater good, meaning that he needs to destroy this new Republic born out of the skeleton of the old Republic, which Baylan probably hated, and wants to start afresh, anew. I really, in the end, thought that he had an ulterior motive to this, but it seems like it's not that deep for him. This moment before they start fighting, once they're adjusting their stances, Ahsoka attempts another stance from her previous one, and Baylan adjusts immediately. This was very reminiscent of the Obi-Wan Maul duel at the end where Obi-Wan kills Maul. They did the same thing. Before they even started fighting, they were postulating against one another to see who can take the advantage before the first blow. During this duel, we also see that Morgan is halfway done. We see the calculations are well on their way, and during this duel, we see Ahsoka's mission is to only disrupt it. The interesting thing here is that we've seen Ahsoka be prominent, powerful, but this time around she has definitely met her match. Baylan's prowess is something that we've rarely seen in Star Wars. He is kind of a Wookiee Jedi. He is so powerful in his slashes that even Ahsoka is taken aback. He is precise, he can defend himself, and he can also attack with a tremendous amount of power. There's a moment here where Baylan is pushed back by Ahsoka, and that's all she needed. That's the moment where she grabs the star map, and we see that the powerful magic is still afloat. She burns her hand really bad. This is a crucial moment because even Ahsoka is not immune to Night Sister magic. Baylan takes advantage of the slight distraction that Ahsoka feels when she sees Shin Hati come back, and she thinks that Sabine is dead. dead. Thinking that Sabine is dead, Ahsoka force pushes Shin Hati to the rocks and knocks her unconscious. This was a slight show of anger by Ahsoka, which again signifies that she is no pure Jedi. She still has that gray Jedi in her. Unfortunately, in the end, Balon traps her at the edge of the cliff, and that's the moment that Sabine shows up, grabs the star map, and is threatening to destroy it. As much as Ahsoka pleads for her to destroy the star map, Balon ultimately knows that he needs to separate both of them and sends Ahsoka flying down the cliffs, essentially sending her to her death. Again, as I said, this turns out to be completely unexpected. Now we have the full immaturity of Sabine in play. As much as they discussed earlier that she needs to do what needs to be done when the time comes, Sabine does not heed that word from Ahsoka. Balon, using the Force, again, we see how prominent this character is. He uses the Force to infiltrate her mind, to see her past traumas, to see her ultimate wishes, and Balon ultimately manipulates Sabine into giving him the star map willingly and joining them on this trip. He gives her his word that they will not harm her. They have the same goal. Balon is searching for Thrawn, while she is searching for Ezra. And with these seductive words, Balon takes the star map from Sabine willingly. This was the ultimate show of mind power, and it was completely parallel with how Palpatine manipulated Anakin. He was Palpatine in this moment. He even said during his talks with Sabine, he even said, "Do it." My heart just skipped a beat when I heard that. I was already thinking it, but when he said it, it was over and done with. Sabine was the immature, naive kid, similar to how Anakin was, succumbing to her wishes, while Balon got ultimately what he wanted through manipulation. It was cool to hear the Force choke sound effect again, and later we realized that Shin Hati actually has grabbed Sabine trying to kill her, but we see also that Balon is a man of his word. He instructs Shin Hati to release her. With the calculations done, now they are ultimately ready. Hera and Carson Teva are late at the party, because with the calculations done, Balon, Sabine, and Shin Hati are now aboard the Eye of Sion. Energy surge is so powerful that when they're done with their hyperspace jump, 2 X-Wings are destroyed, and the Ghost is almost completely knocked off. So we still see that hyperspace jumps can be weaponized. And with Hera and Jason, we get that classic moment Jason says, "I have a bad feeling." Now we know this is a classic Star Wars line, "I have a bad feeling about this," but it also shows more than that. It shows that Jason is perhaps Force sensitive even as a child. He is, after all, a son of a Jedi, Kanan Jarrus, so it makes complete sense. It was pretty sad to see Hu Yang so lonely. He finally fixed the ship, but he has no one to talk to. Ahsoka is gone, as well as Sabine. She is on another galaxy. But as Sabine is on another galaxy, we get to the ending scene, where this was the most epic thing, and I knew it immediately when I saw Ahsoka in that state. I knew she was in the world between worlds. It is finally shown in live action. As she wakes up, she finally realizes where she is, and how she realizes this is that she was, as a matter of fact, in this state before. Remember that in Star Wars Rebels, it is Ezra Bridger who saves her from Darth Vader. So she has been here before, and what's ironic, she was saved by Darth Vader and pulled into this world. And now, after so many decades, after so many years, this was, I think, the best moment that I have seen in Star Wars, at least one of the best, when we get Anakin's voice saying, "Hello, Snips." Ahsoka is weirded out by this, but once she turns back, she sees that in full view that it is her former master, Anakin Skywalker, in his younger version self. Due to his long hair, I'm judging this is around Revenge of the Sith era Anakin, with a bit of a de-aged face. He says, "I didn't expect to see you so soon," and Ahsoka is just flabbergasted as can't believe it. What's interesting though is that the episode ends on another sour note, because the Darth Vader theme plays before the end credits, so who knows what can we expect from episode 5. It's gonna be pretty interesting to see how Ahsoka, which I presume she is dead and she is becoming one with the Force, but Anakin intercepts her in the world between worlds. We expect a lot of lore to be laid out in episode 5 because this is completely mysterious when it comes to Star Wars. We don't know what's happening right now, so thank you guys so much for watching and let me know all your thoughts down below.